Thank you very much, Doug. There was a lot of talk about heroism and bravery attached to Misty, and I can assure you that any heroism on my part was entirely inadvertent. This was an extremely difficult and interesting mission. I'm going to show you 3 or 4 slides. This will not be death by PowerPoint by any means. And then we're going to open up and I'll moderate the panel here. And at the end, we'll provide some time for questions, should anyone have one. 157 FACs were Misty's in a special top secret mission during the Vietnam War. It was top secret because if they told us what it was about, probably no one would have volunteered. But we were all volunteers, and this is the bases that were in South Vietnam. We flew out of the second to northernmost base, which was Phu Quet. It was about 30 minutes flight after you took off, and we flew the 2-seat F-100 with basically the pilot in the front seat and the back seat. We switched every other mission, so you got to share your misery. The guy in the back seat carried the maps and the cameras, and we just had handheld cameras we took pictures of, and he handled the radios and radio coordination. Basically what we would do is take off from Phu Quet and head north about 30 minutes. This was the original group of Misties. In the bottom of the picture is Bud Day, who was supposed to be here today on the panel, and as happens at our age, he fell, cut his head, and was unable to travel. And so a couple of comments about him later. He was shot down, he was captured, he escaped, and actually escaped into South Vietnam and was about probably half a mile from safety and was recaptured by the North Vietnamese, spent 5.5 years in prison, horribly tortured, and was awarded the Medal of Honor for his time. Basically, we would take off from Phu Quet, and our area was Route Pack 1. Now, route packs, there were 6 route packs in Vietnam, Route Pack 5 and 6 being up around Hanoi and Haiphong. And then ours was the southernmost of the route packs. And that's basically where everything funneled from the ports up in Haiphong and traveling down south in Vietnam. It traveled down through our area, and our job basically was to stop it. As we traveled north, we would enter the pack, and we'd try to find targets like this. This was Christmas Day, 1967. They weren't normally lined up so nicely. This was during a truce, but we'd try to find truck parks, we'd try to find trucks, we would try to find POL, we'd try to find SAM sites and that type of thing. And then we would go refuel, and we would meet fighter aircraft over the targets. We would dive in and mark the targets from them. We were armed only with our 20-millimeter cannons and 2 7 rocket pods, two pods of 7 rockets each on our left and right wing. So we would roll in, mark the targets, because the fighters operated at such altitudes that they could not find this stuff and have the gas left to attack it. So it was a very exciting mission. We would refuel a second time. Our missions lasted anywhere from 4 to 6.5 hours. Again, we'd go in and out of the pack, and the weather was either good in North Vietnam or it was good in Laos. So whatever the weather permitted us to do, we would go find targets in that area and then mark the targets for the fighters. Refueling several times, as we said. The tankers, there are 2 real heroes in all of our minds in the Vietnam War. The tankers, who rescued us many times and kept us from having to bail out, and also the helo guys. There is nobody braver in the Air Force than helicopter guys. We've all worked rescues time after time and watched those guys hover and get hit and get hit and get hit and get hit. We all take our hats off to them. This was a SAM site, a picture taken, a long story goes with this that I won't tell, but this picture was taken from about 100 feet and about 500 knots, guys trying desperately to cover up the SAM. We took a lot of hits. This is a 37-millimeter hit. Most of our losses were to 37-millimeter, although there was 57 and 85-millimeter in the area, and also SAMs, and later on the handheld heat-seeking SAMs. This is my generation of Misty. I'm in the top left, and PK is in the bottom left there. PK Robinson's in the bottom left. Of this group of people, 7 of these people got shot down, one of them twice, and one of the POWs there. So it was a very, very rough mission, and you're going to hear about it. We put this all in a book called Bury Us Upside Down. We'll be there to sign the book tomorrow between 11 and 12. It's a very, very good book, done very well. There's another book out called Misty, and this is the collection of first-person stories that we put together. You can get both of these on Amazon, and I hope you do. This is our pride and joy. Colonel Bud Day, responsible for starting the Misty, Medal of Honor winner, and also responsible for the tri-carrier that many of you retirees have out there. And we're very sorry he could not be there today. 2 of my most memorable missions that stand out is I took off. I was there during Tet. and we took off, and the whole country was on fire. I mean, you could see everything burning. About the only place that was not under attack was Phuket, from where we took off. And I was flying that day with Jim Fiorelli, a good friend of mine. I loved to fly with Fiorelli because he was in love with a nurse down at Benoit, so he was very cautious, didn't take any chances. I always hated to fly with the guys that hated their wives. Yeah, they were fearless. Anyway, we took off, and as we were going up north, we were talking about, I wonder if we're going to be under attack when we come back, and they called us on the radio, and they said, would you stop by? Quezon was under attack at that time. Would you stop by? We've lost contact with Langvay Special Forces Camp, which was just west of Quezon, guarding the western approach to Quezon. So it was just sun up, and we descended down to low level and went over Quezon, and it looked like a nuclear weapon had gone off there. I mean, everything was just absolutely destroyed, bodies laying all over, and there were tanks in the wire. So we told them, well, you know, we told them that, and we said, and there's tanks in the wire. And they said, tanks in the wire? You know, there's no tanks down here. I said, well, got news for you, because we had reported, another Misty had reported tanks coming down south for Quezon earlier, and it was one of those things they simply wouldn't believe. The other mission that really stands out in my mind was flying with Howie Carroll, and we were up there, and the clouds broke, and we discovered they were setting up a SAM site. And so we said, oh, we're just about out of fuel. Okay, we'll call for the fighters. We were refueling on the tanker and getting all refueled, and we're coming back and just not thinking, but it's kind of a story about how we did not have the right equipment, the right knowledge, all that kind of stuff that we now have in the modern Air Force. We're coming back, we're letting down from the tanker about 14,000 feet, 10,000 feet, 9,000 feet, come back to the SAM site, wham, a SAM comes up at us. It never occurred to us that this guy actually might shoot at us. We had no raw gear, we had no chaff and flare, we had no tactics, we didn't know what we were doing. That was a discouraging thing about that time, is all the things that General Fogelman talked about, that the war and the people, and many of you gave us, were things that we did not have. We could find the targets, we could not hit them, Nighttime was actually just a waste of time. I'll end this by saying that as we look at the Misties, 34% of the Misties got shot down, some of them twice. We had 5 POWs, 7 KIA. We still have 4 missing. That's no way to fight a war. The way to fight a war is the way we're fighting today's wars. On the other hand, the big lesson for me was that there are things worth fighting for, but we better decide what they are before we go in. And we go in, we better have the support of the American people, and we ought to win quickly, and we ought to get out. These long, drawn-out ground wars are not the core competency of America. Thank all of you for your interest. I think we have to turn over the room, so we hope you enjoyed it, and we hope you'll see us tomorrow at the book.